Have you ever been to such a bizarre banquet? Peanuts, pickled vegetables, even instant noodles, they were all served as dishes. Whatever dish came to the table, it was gone in a second. Not to mention, there were dishes that were fished out from leftover food buckets, and even pre-packaged dishes that even dogs won't eat. At the end, leftovers had to be taken home. This isn't a movie, it's the real scene at a banquet in Guizhou province, China. The reasons for hosting these banquets are even more ridiculous. A banquet for a double yolk. A hen laying double yolk eggs. Lamb birth. Halfway through the banquet, a lamb with a big red flower on its head is brought out for the guests to see. A banquet for a baby's first haircut, and all relatives and friends are invited. A banquet for moving from the first to the second floor. A banquet to ensure the baby in the womb stays healthy. A banquet for a family who could not afford to host a banquet when the child turned 1, but they're making it up 21 years later. A belated funeral banquet. And a banquet for hemorrhoid surgery. Typically, guests leave a 200 yuan gift, but sometimes it goes as high as 500 or even over 1,000. There's also an elderly lady who was planning a birthday banquet, but the cake hadn't even arrived before she passed away. Even more absurd is a new house banquet. People go to a real estate sales office, take a photo, post it online saying, "I bought a new house," and then hold a banquet. No down payment is needed, not even a deposit. Just one photo is enough to justify a banquet. And there are so many more ridiculous reasons that make you question life. These reasons for hosting banquets may seem trivial, but the money is no small matter. It could range from 200 or 300 to over 1,000 yuan. Over the Chinese New Year, people might end up spending over 10,000 yuan on gifts. One woman from Guizhou said that after returning home for the holiday, she attended no fewer than 20 banquets, and she couldn't afford it anymore. Let me show you just how crazy and frequent our banquets are here in Guizhou. If there's a national ranking for banquets, Guizhou would be second. No one dares to be first. These are all of the invitations I received this month, and I'm not even talking about the ones my family sent from back home. There were several weddings, birthdays, and other events. For the weddings and funerals, we understand and support them. But birthdays and housewarming parties, what's even funnier is that after I sent a gift, I had no idea what kind of banquet I was attending. When I looked at the invitation, it was for a no-reason banquet. I seriously don't get it. My schedule was even more packed than some national leaders. If I really went, I'd still be going until the 29th of the Lunar New Year. I realized it wasn't about the holiday anymore. It was just about giving money. It feels like a fundraising campaign. Today, one person is hosting, tomorrow another person is hosting, and the next day someone else will host. How can anyone handle this? As for me, I'm saying no more. I just can't afford it. I just wanted to go home and have a simple, peaceful holiday. It feels like children playing house. Just line up and throw a banquet. Some might wonder, can you skip these banquets? Well, not really. One person said their relatives held 8 banquets in 3 years, and they spent thousands in gifts. If you don't attend, it's not just about losing face. It means all the money you gave for gifts is wasted. And if something happens in the future, your family won't come either, so it's the same as cutting ties. One young man from Guizhou, who had worked away from home for many years, didn't contribute to the gifts in the past. When he came home to get married, he prepared over 100 tables for the banquet, but none of the 1,000 villagers attended. A netizen complained, "If you don't throw a banquet in 3 years, you'll end up begging for money." Ordinary people are burdened with gift money, spending over 100,000 yuan a year on various banquets. What used to be a way to show mutual affection has now turned into a system where relationships are measured in cash, and the more expensive the gift, the more valued the relationship. One woman from Guizhou angrily stated, "It's okay for those working outside because they have an income, but have you thought about the people at home with no money? They rely on crops for a living. Some of them have no gift money, so they they sell their corn or wheat to pay for the banquet. If they don't have that, they sell chickens to attend the banquet. Because everyone is thinking, what if the situation turns around and it's their turn? It becomes a vicious cycle. Here, it doesn't matter if you show up. What matters is whether the gift money arrives. They don't care if you come. They care about whether their accounts are balanced. Banquets, which are part of China's long tradition, are meant for weddings and funerals, where people offer gifts to show appreciation. But recently, in Guizhou, these events have become a way to make money. A single banquet, including both labor and materials, can cost as little as 200 yuan. The host can recover the entire cost from just 2 gift contributions, with some banquets earning tens of thousands, and others up to 200,000 yuan. What business can be more profitable than this? As a result, the trend of holding banquets is getting worse, increasing the financial burden on many families. Some people are hosting banquets just to break even, and others who can't afford gift money are forced to do so, joining the cycle of hosting banquets themselves. Despite strong calls from villagers, local authorities have taken some measures, but the effect has been limited. In Xiangning County, Guizhou, a deputy town mayor even took action to stop a villager from hosting a first haircut banquet for their child. He poured salt on the banquet dishes to prevent it. After the video spread online, it sparked heated discussions. Many netizens agreed that while villagers holding excessive banquets is wrong, public officials wasting food in the name of promoting frugality and tradition was an extreme and crude approach, and it hurt people's feelings. A blogger pointed out that while it may seem like a cultural issue, the frequent banquets in rural Guizhou are a true reflection of the struggles people face. Due to economic pressures, many rely on these banquets for financial support, turning them into a form of hidden debt or borrowing. Simply imposing policies to limit them is unlikely to work. The key is to improve the livelihoods of rural people and raise the economic level in these areas to alleviate this distorted burden. Indeed, the vicious cycle of eating more and getting poorer has led to a lot of suffering. The money earned through hard work away from home is mostly spent on these social obligations, leaving people feeling exhausted. A man from Guizhou complained that there are so many banquets and too much pressure, and he doesn't even earn enough to cover the cost of attending them.
People say Guizhou has too many banquets, and it's true. We hold them year-round, especially before the new year. Every few days, there's another one. It's hard to keep up. Times are tough. We work all year, yet barely make enough to cover these banquets. No wonder fewer young people come home. They're under too much pressure. It's not about celebrating anymore. It's just about giving money.
过年, avoiding the new year, has become a new term in recent years, meaning some people want to go home for the new year but don't dare to because of the financial burden. A number of migrant workers said that in addition to the high cost of transportation, they avoid going home to escape people's gift demands. With the current economic downturn, many migrant workers say that finding a job in the city is hard, and they often don't get paid. Wages are lower than before, and after a year of work, many can barely save anything. This is also why many people are hesitant to return home. A veteran construction worker who is frustrated said that many skilled workers are out of work this year. Some of them can barely afford a meal.
The economy is so bad that some of us can barely afford food. We bring our own meals, not because restaurant food is bad, but because it's cheaper. I eat pickled vegetables and potatoes. My whole meal costs less than 5 yuan. I have to be frugal just to survive. Supporting a family is even harder. If this continues, I don't know how much longer I can hold on. You can't even beg anymore. Everyone's struggling.
One migrant worker said that in 2025, finding work is getting harder. On the 7th day of the new year, he traveled more than 800 kilometers from Hunan to Wuhu looking for a job. The recruiters were shouting on loudspeakers, telling people under 33 years old to apply, and that those over 33 should go home. Another young man broke down in tears because he couldn't find a job. He cried out while sobbing, "I really have no money left, not a single cent. I don't even have a place to stay." It was heartbreaking to watch. A vlogger pointed out that the construction industry is also in decline. Many construction workers no longer have work to do. They work for half a year, then rest for half a year. In fact, many can't find any work at all on construction sites. Wages are also being squeezed. Masons who used to earn 400 yuan per day now only get 300. Carpenters went from 350 to 280. Steelworkers from 360 to 300. Male laborers get 200, and female laborers get only 180. Even the pay for excavator operators and mud truck drivers has been reduced. These workers, who are already doing the hard jobs for the least money, are severely impacted by the downturn in real estate. Some migrant workers have reported that even when they can find work, they're often unable to get paid. It's becoming harder and harder to collect wages. One migrant worker from Henan said, "I'm almost unable to keep working, not because there's no work, but because they haven't paid us. I've been working for 2 or 3 months, but the company hasn't given us a single cent. I'm out of energy, and I've already borrowed thousands just to cover food and basic expenses." Another woman, trying to collect her unpaid wages, knelt on the ground and held onto her boss's legs. "We can't survive anymore. You promised to pay us. Our families can't even afford food. I'm not feeling well, and I don't even have money for rice. Please, give us our wages. We common folk have it hard. I still have children to raise and elderly family to support." Netizens commented, "Oh, 2024 was tough. Being a boss is hard. Being a worker is hard. Doing business is hard. Everything is hard." Indeed, many contractors say it was especially difficult to collect payments for projects last year. As the new year approached, they still can't get much of the money they were owed. One contractor who has been in business for nearly 20 years said,
I knew collecting payments would be tough this year, but not this bad. I've been working since 7 a.m., running around all day, yet I'm left with just a small payment. I don't even know who to pay first. I'll cover my workers' wages, but I'll have to delay my suppliers. Right now, I have just 4,000 yuan left. After all this effort, what do I have to show for it? We've worked all year, hoping to get paid, and this is what we're left with.
According to Li Shi, director of the Institute for Sharing and Development Studies at Zhejiang University, it's estimated that around 65% of China's population has not reached the middle income standard. This means that about 900 million people in China are in the low income group. Li Shi pointed out that within this 900 million, there's also a significant income disparity. Some are close to the middle income level, while others are still living in relative poverty. In 2020, former Premier Li Keqiang stated during a press conference that 600 million people in China earn only 1,000 yuan a month. The National Bureau of Statistics later confirmed that this data reflects the basic reality in China. China's economy is currently on a downturn, and the lives of farmers and migrant workers are becoming increasingly difficult. According to data from the National Bureau of Statistics, there were about 296 million migrant workers in China in 2024, with over 70% engaged in manufacturing, construction, and services. These traditional industries are facing severe decline, resulting in fewer employment opportunities for migrant workers, significantly lower wages, and worsening livelihood. The construction industry in particular has been hit hard. Due to the sluggish real estate sector, many construction sites have either halted work or laid off workers, with wages significantly reduced. Even worse, wage arrears are a frequent issue, leaving many migrant workers in debt and unable to secure even basic living expenses. The manufacturing sector is also struggling. Since the beginning of 2024, manufacturing orders have continued to decrease, leading many factories to reduce production capacity, lay off workers, or shut down entirely, which directly affects the income of migrant workers. Data shows that in the first half of 2024, about 15% of migrant workers were either unemployed or forced to switch industries. In the service sector, although there have been some opportunities in areas like dining, logistics, and retail, the wages are low and cannot make up for the loss of jobs in construction and manufacturing. The economic downturn in rural areas has further exacerbated the difficulties for farmers. In 2024, the average rural per capita disposable income was only 21,000 yuan, far lower than the 46,000 yuan for urban residents. The single industry structure in rural areas, along with a lack of new growth drivers, limits the ways in which farmers can generate income. Under these circumstances, many farmers choose to work in cities, but face challenges such as intense competition in the urban job market and age restrictions. Some migrant workers over 30 are even turned away from construction sites and are left with no choice but to return to their hometowns. The pressure and helplessness of the situation have led to a rise in the number of rural youth who are lying flat or dependent on their parents. Some rural youth, after failing to find work, choose to return home and live a passive life, relying on their parents' pensions and meager savings. They're unable to find stable work in cities and are unwilling to take on traditional rural labor, eventually falling into a state of passivity. They feel lost and helpless about the future. As one farmer puts it, "If I can't make money outside and there's no way forward back home, I'm just left getting by." Ultimately, the difficulties faced by farmers and migrant workers are not just individual issues. They reflect the broader economic situation. When pillar industries like manufacturing and real estate fall into crisis, the livelihoods of rural residents and migrant workers are inevitably affected. Solving these problems requires more than individual efforts or policy restrictions. Only by the government implementing effective measures to stabilize the economy, promoting economic structural transformation, and revitalizing economic vitality can the hardships of farmers and migrant workers be alleviated.